The Spellbinders. It was just an ordinary house with a bright yellow door. In fact, the door was the only thing particularly special about the one-story building. Simple flowers lined the sills of a few small windows, through which passers-by might occasionally see an orange tabby cat lounging lazily. To Alice, a 16-year-old girl always clad in overalls, flannels, and chucks covered in Sharpie-drawn stars, it was just like most of the houses that she rode by on her way home from school. Perfectly normal. She would never have thought anything of it, would never have even noticed it if her wheel hadn't caught a strange crack in the sidewalk just out front one day, sending her toppling off her lime green bike. Knees skinned and face flushed, she went to right her felled bike, only to find it already standing on its own. "That's strange," she said out loud to no one in particular. She walked around and examined the bike, making slow circles. The kickstand wasn't even in the down position. The bike just hovered there inexplicably. After one rotation and no explanation, she felt her only course of action was to walk around in a circle again, which is precisely what she was doing when she heard the voice. "So, would you like to stare at your bike all day, or would you care to come inside?" Alice whirled around, looking right and left, but saw no one. "Who said that?" she said. "Well, me, of course," replied the orange tabby sitting at her feet. "Ah!" Alice jumped at the sight of the cat, who she could have sworn was not there just moments ago. "I know, it takes a bit to get used to, but you will. Grab the bike. You can leave it on the porch for now." And the orange tabby sauntered towards the bright yellow door. Not knowing what else to do, Alice grabbed the handlebars of her bike and followed suit. Her curiosity was sparked by the talking cat, and she had to know if it was all real or if she was actually dreaming. "Just the fact that you're considering I might be real and not writing me off as a dream right away has you further along than most who come to the house for the first time," the cat remarked, as if it had been listening to her thoughts. "I assure you, I'm real as rain. My name is Octavia." "Hi, Octavia. I'm—" "Alice, we know," the cat interjected confidently. Alice's eyebrows raised. "Well, it's why we stopped your bike today. We were hoping you would come inside." Alice's eyebrows raised even higher. "I'm a very clever cat. I used to bring good fortune to my companion, you know, in my original story. I was so tricky that I escaped that old tale, but then they found me and brought me here. What I'm trying to say is that we're all known for always finding exactly what it is we're looking for." Original story? And who was we? And where was here? Alice was just about to ask when they reached the yellow door, which seemed to open on its own in front of them. Octavia peered over her shoulder at Alice, and Alice could have sworn the cat grinned. "Welcome to Ever After, Alice, home of the Spellbinders." Stretching out in front of Alice, where she might have expected a living room or a regular old staircase or some other normal house things, there was a large, bustling, library was the only way that Alice knew how to describe it. Tall shelves with all sorts of assorted objects lined the walls, towering above her endlessly. People wheeled around on ladders, zooming across the shelves and adding strange objects to the massive expanse. In the center of the grand room, there were long, dark wooden tables strewn with books and papers being pored over by lots of people. There were hundreds of them at least, and they were everywhere. Some her age, some younger and older, some speaking in different languages. Alice could have sworn that one of them was one of her old classmates, a suspicion that was confirmed when they gave her a wink from behind one of the long tables and then returned to their reading. "What is this place?" Alice asked Octavia. "Ever After. Read any fairy tales before?" "Yes, of course." "Well, Alice, something most readers don't know is that fairy tales create incredible, amazing, powerful artifacts that sometimes find their way into the world." Octavia hopped up gracefully on one of the more vacant tables near a tall shelf. Take me, for example. You said you were in a story once. Alice tilted her head inquisitively, urging the cat to continue. I was a cunning feline who wore glorious boots, and I could make magic happen for my boon companion. I started radiating with the power of smarts and creativity, and I used it to seek out a new story. But the Spellbinders, they brought you here? That's right. They also nabbed my boots, which became pretty powerful artifacts as well, if I do say so myself. I can't really complain, to be honest. This is a far more interesting place to spend my time. So, is it bad? Your magic? Is that why they caught you? Octavia wandered over to the nearest shelf and hopped on. Alice gasped when she realized the cat was now perched next to a shining glass slipper. It sparkled and shone bright with some kind of powerful energy. Alice could feel it radiating off the very familiar shoe. No, it's not bad, said the cat, responding to a question Alice nearly forgot she had asked, given the distraction of that glittering shoe. Spellbinders want the magic to be in the world, to remind people of their wonder and curiosity and strength and so on and so forth. But sometimes it does fall into the hands of those who don't know how to use it, people that get a tad carried away. Take Cinderella's slipper, for example. Alice gasped. Again, Octavia seemed to release a feline grin. Pretty cool, huh? Well, this slipper contains the magic of big dreams, as their previous wearer had many big dreams of her own. Now, some young kid got their hands on it when they were traveling. They were taking a tour of a big old palace in Europe and found it lying on the stairs. Like in the story, Alice exclaimed. Suppose so. Well, most folks just saw a shoe, but the kid saw it how you see it now. Long story short, he used it to dream up an endless supply of candy, and we couldn't really have that kind of plot twist out in the world. Plot twist? Alice asked. Oh, right. We call strange happenings caused by these magical artifacts plot twists. Anywho, we retrieved the shoe, and now it lives here in Ever After. Spellbinders take the artifacts, but have also learned how to safely channel their energy back into the world, casting positive spells back when they're needed. Wow! Alice looked around in awe. Just near her, she saw Cinderella's glass slipper, a glimmering rose from Belle and the Beast, and a strand of straw, half of which was transformed into pure gold. You haven't even heard the coolest part, said Octavia, watching Alice carefully as she took in the shelves. I haven't, Alice replied. We want you to join us. Me? A spellbinder? Welcome to the team. And so, Alice went on to begin her training each day after school. For many months, she spent time reading stories from different cultures and learning about the tricks of the trade. Each little detail amazed her, like discovering that there were libraries and bookshelves all across the world with books that were actually portals. You could open them and drop in the powerful storybook item and know that it made it safely back to Ever After. Octavia was by her side during her entire training regiment, and they became partners, and, perhaps more importantly, very good friends. One day, Octavia was fitting Alice with her Spellbinder badge, having freshly completed the training courses the evening before. Alice was just about to head off to school when a beautiful wand, actually it was one of the fairy godmother's original wands, lifted up in the air, pointed due north, and sent out a stream of starry, glittering magic. Alice had learned that this meant a plot twist had occurred, and someone was using the full, unbridled power of one of the artifacts. Octavia shot off in the direction of the wand, stopping only to discuss the details with another spellbinder who had already pulled out their computer to search for the anomaly. Alice followed behind and peered over their shoulders. It looks like Little Red's cloak. We've been searching for this one for a while, said the spellbinder, who was typing quickly on their computer. It's been found in a student's backpack at Wilhelm C. Grimm High. I wonder how it got in there. Octavia peered at the footage now playing of students pouring into a large building. The spellbinder zoomed in on one student with a slightly unzipped backpack. Alice blinked at the small corner of ruby red fabric that was peeking out of the side. She'd never seen such a brilliant red color before. The cloak, doesn't it offer some form of protection? Alice asked. She remembered reading the story and seeing the bright red cloak on many would-love-to-find lists floating around ever after during her training. So you have been paying attention. Octavia gave her usual cat grin. It does protect the wearer from dangers that lurk in the shadows, just like it protected Little Red from the big bad wolf. The spellbinder that was typing on the computer piped up again. Yeah, it looks like Peter here found the cloak at a rummage sale. The only one who saw its magical potential right away, clearly. The spellbinder got up then and began filling a backpack with some snacks, a map, and a book giving off the slightest glow. We won't be near a portal, so we're bringing our own, Octavia explained. We do that every now and then. And you will be carrying me in the backpack, too. You look like a student, so you'll blend in, and I'm a cat. Wait a second. We're going to get the cloak? Buckle up, Alice. It's mission time. Octavia hopped into the backpack and poked her head out of the top, as Alice slung it across her back and ran towards her lime green bike. Octavia examined the map and whispered directions into Alice's ear, and Alice pedaled quickly down the familiar twists and turns of her neighborhood. Eventually, they had ridden further than Alice had ever really thought to go on her own, to the town just over where Peter and the cloak were heading into math class. Alice parked her bike outside the school, and Octavia ducked further down into the backpack. She crept into the empty hallways, hearing lectures from teachers in different rooms. At one point, she turned a corner and saw someone leaving the teacher's lounge and heading in the direction of an office that was just past where Alice stood. The principal's office! She leapt into a nearby supply closet quickly, listening as the footsteps echoed down the hall. That was a close one, she heard the muffled voice of Octavia say from inside the backpack. Shh! Alice put her ear to the door and waited until no other sound came. She sighed at the disappearing footsteps, and just as she put her hand on the doorknob, a loud bell sounded throughout the hallways. Octavia jumped straight up out of the backpack in shock and landed on a high shelf, which teetered dangerously at the sudden arrival of a cat. Octavia, get down from there! Alice hissed from the ground. Octavia obliged by leaping forward onto another lower shelf of supplies, but unfortunately, the momentum of her leap only destabilized the first shelf further. Books, writing supplies, and printer paper came tumbling in Octavia and Alice's direction, making an unfortunately loud noise as it all clattered to the ground. They winced at the ruckus, but could hear students filling the halls and hoped that would cover their tracks. Octavia leapt back into the backpack and said, "Try to blend in." Alice nodded resolutely and went to open the door again, but it was flung open from the other side. "Peter!" Alice said in surprise as she saw the boy standing on the other side of the closet. Octavia peered around Alice's shoulder. Do I know you?" Peter said, confused. Was all Alice could think to say in return. "I heard something crash in here. Are you—" "I need your cloak!" Alice blurted out, unable to stop herself. Octavia, also unable to stop herself, said, "Alice, keep your composure, would you?" Did your cat just talk?" Peter said, looking over his shoulders at the students who were transitioning to their next classes, almost begging someone to acknowledge that they were seeing what he was seeing. No?" Alice said, hopefully. I gotta go," Peter said, and he began walking quickly down the hall. "Wait!" Alice shouted after him. She kicked aside a few stray pens from the fallen shelf and began her pursuit. The two walked quickly through the hallways, dodging other students and teachers making their way to new classrooms. Peter looked over his shoulder and saw he was being chased, so he started to pick up speed. "We've got a runner," Octavia said in Alice's ear, spurring Alice on to begin running in pursuit of Peter. Hey, no running in the hallways, a teacher said from one of the classrooms. Both Alice and Peter began power walking in response, until Peter reached a side exit of the school and shoved the doors open. Then he flat out sprinted towards the school's football field. Wait! I swear this is for your own good! Alice called, running quickly to catch up with Peter. She was so close to being able to snatch that red cloak out of his still partially unzipped backpack. What do you want? I didn't do anything wrong. I bought this fair and square, Peter shouted back. You're not in trouble. I just need the cloak. Please trust me. Alice panted as she ran full speed to close the gap between them. But Peter stopped short ahead of her, and unable to slow her momentum in time, she ran straight into his back. The two of them, their backpacks, the cat, and the cloak, went tumbling in all directions. It was silent for a moment. Then Alice began to laugh. Soon Peter joined her, and then Octavia too. They all laughed in a heap for a moment before helping one another get up and collect their things. They ambled over to the bleachers and sat catching their breath. Why do you need the cloak? Peter asked eventually, taking it up into his hands. We're part of an organization that keeps really powerful items like this safe. We've been looking for the cloak for a while. It didn't give its position away until someone whose eyes are open to the magic of the world recognized it, and it revealed its true power, Alice replied matter-of-factly. Peter's face was frozen in shock. Are you talking about me? Alice nodded. Yeah, you're one of the few out there who can see magic. Congratulations. I thought I was imagining it, but I did know the cloak was magic. It felt like it wanted to protect me, and I really needed that at the time. I didn't know it was bad to use it, though. Peter looked down, cheeks flushed. Oh, no worries, Peter. How could you have known? Also, it's not so bad. This magic is always out in the world. We just make sure things don't get overloaded. Alice offered him a smile. Can I ask you a question? Sure. What did you want to protect yourself from? Well, I just moved here, and I'm new at this school. I was afraid, since I didn't know anyone, that people would think I was weird or I'd get made fun of. But when I held this, I just felt like I would be safe from everything. Oh, I get that. Why did you get a signal about the cloak now instead of when I first saw it? Alice thought for a moment. I guess the truth is that the cloak is so powerful that it started protecting you from the good stuff too. Like finding new friends, like me. Alice hopped up onto one of the bleachers with a flourish and a goofy, dramatic bow. A slight magical aura, nearly imperceptible, seemed to emanate from the cloak, its magic very present around Alice and Peter. You want to be my friend? Peter was cracking a smile now. Yeah, I don't live so far from here. Plus, I'm pretty cool. Peter laughed. When the cloak started keeping you from fully living your life, it took protecting you to the next level, and a dangerous one at that. Think of all the things you might have missed out on. Anyhow, that's when we got the message. Well, here. I guess I really won't be needing this anymore. I've got a friend now. Peter stood next to Alice and handed over Little Red's cloak. Alice looked over at the backpack and then at Octavia. Can we show him how it's done? Octavia smiled slightly, so only Alice could see. She circled around Peter's feet, sizing him up, making sure he was truly trustworthy. When she was satisfied, she turned back to Alice. Sure, go right ahead, said Octavia. Whoa, your cat does talk? Peter jumped and almost toppled back on the bleachers. That's not even the wildest thing I've ever seen working with the Spellbinders. Alice grinned, and before he could ask, she removed the glowing book from her backpack. Is that Little Red Riding Hood? Peter asked, examining the cover. Something like that, Octavia replied. Alice opened the book. With Peter on one side and Octavia perched on her shoulder, Alice stood over the open story. There she was, holding her first ever retrieved artifact, after her first successful mission as an official spellbinder. A portal of brilliant light opened in the pages of the book, and Alice took a deep breath before letting go of the magical item. All three watched as the bright red cloak vanished into shining swirls of stardust and returned happily to ever after. The end. Thanks for listening!